Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Welcome to our show. It's for you and about you. Those of you who work so hard for your money, but you want your money to start working harder for you right now. You want that freedom, cash flow, and prosperity today, not 30 or 40 years from now, but right now to live that life that you love with those you love, doing what you love. And as a Rippler, you want to create a ripple effect to the lives of others because as you're blessed financially, you can bless others' lives. Guys, thank you for allowing me to create a ripple effect through you. In fact, let me just give a huge shout out to you guys, especially those of you who've been following us for over the years, right? And even those of you who joined us new, of course, but those have been following us for a while. Yeah, I'll tell you, I just had a Facebook memory come up from 7 years ago. So I'd started this podcast 7.5 years ago. 7 years ago, memory pops up talking about how I was actually feeling depressed. I had done the podcast for about 6 months, felt like nobody was listening. I felt like I was talking to dead air. And I remember I went to this conference. And out randomly, this guy just starts staring at me from across the convention hall. And he says, "Are you Chris Miles?" I said, "Yeah." And just so you know, by the way, I'd almost felt like not only quitting the podcast, but I was wondering if I should quit my business. In fact, my ex-wife, wife at that time was telling me, go get a job, stop, trying to launch Money Ripples and all that kind of stuff. Right. Well, he just said, "Hey, you know what? Like my wife and I, like we listen to your podcast. In fact, our whole team in this direct marketing company, this doTERRA company, this whole team actually listens to you." And they started bringing everybody together. There's about 6 of them, right? And we all took a picture together. It's kind of cool. I posted on my own personal Facebook profile recently, but it reminded me that you got to keep going. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up too soon. And so, anyways, just thought I'd share that quick little thing with you there because you know what? It's been 7.5 years. We're about to go into our 8th season in 2022, and man, it's been awesome. And you guys have put us in the top, of business and finance for Blog Talk Radio, in the top 1% of all podcasts out there today because of you guys, because of you faithful listeners, and you guys going out there and creating value, creating powerful conversations. So thank you for binging and sharing and everything that you guys do here today. Hey, as a reminder, check our website, moneyripples.com. You can always reach out to us, on the page, on the contact us page there, especially if you've got money sitting around, you say, "Chris, what do we do with this money to get it working for us so I don't have to keep working so hard for money?" Reach out to us. Also, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Money Ripples with Chris Miles page. Subscribe there. We got all of our podcasts on there and then other videos that I post as well. So check that out.
Chris Miles was able to retire twice by the time he was 39 years old. But he's not content to just enjoy his own financial freedom and peace of mind. Chris wants you to have your own ripple effect so you can live free today. He's not the financial advisor you expected. He's the anti-financial advisor you deserve. He's jumping behind the mic right now, ready to make waves. Here's Chris Miles.
All right, guys. So I'm going to talk about the one question that comes up a lot with my clients. In fact, I just had somebody I was talking to last week, somebody who's looking to do infinite banking policies with me. And they said, "Chris, we both, husband and wife, they're like, we both max fund our 401ks. It's so hard because that match, and we're told it's free money, it's easy money, so it's brainless. Why wouldn't you do it?" And after I described this to them, this is why there's a huge myth behind the match, right? The 401k match, that it's huge. It's going to give you that 50% or 100% return, based on whatever you're going to give it. I'm going to shoot that down because maybe you've had other, colleagues or people like that telling you you're crazy for not doing a 401k, or maybe you're wondering if you should be doing the 401k or not. Here's a big reason why the 401k is not as cool as you'd think it would be, because that match is not as cool as you thought. And I'm going to show you by sharing my screen here. I'm going to be able to kind of give this to you. So of course, if you're listening to this right now, you want to go to our YouTube channel, the Money Ripples with Chris Miles page, or you can go on our blog page on moneyripples.com. You can see this too. By the way, I'm just using simplecalculator.net, free calculator you can use online. That's what I'm using to show this. So I'm going to pretend that you're putting away $6,000 a year, all right? And just normal $6,000 a year if you're put into a mutual fund. What would that look like after 40 years? Now understand, if you're using a 401k, there's pretty big fees. In fact, there's more fees on a 401k than there is on doing normal mutual funds. All the administrative fees. You may not be paying sales loads to the advisors, but you do pay pretty excessive 12B1 fees and other administrative fees that usually total between 1% and 2% out of your 401k that you never even realize come out. So 7% is pretty good, considering that we know that the average of the last 30 years of the stock market, and this has been with the huge 13 years of uptrend, right? The average has been about 8.4%. So, you take away that 1%, 7% is usually pretty good. That's better than what most people get on their 401ks when you look at the real rates of return they get. So anyways, $6,000 a year, if you save it at 7% for 40 years, you're going to have about 1.28 million. Now, let's just assume that you're going to get this 100% match, right? Let's just say that you're making 100,000 a year, you're putting in 6%, then they also put in 6%. Now, what everybody tells me is, Chris, well, that's a 100% rate of return. That's dumb. I mean, you can't beat that. Well, let's figure this out. Let me just put an extra 100% on the 7%, make it 107% return on your $6,000. Because like you said, you're going to get a 100% return on your money, right? Let's look to see what that does. You guys ready for this? Check it out. Total number is $50 quadrillion in 40 years. Now I want to ask you it's kind of an obvious dumb question to ask, but let me ask you this. Do you think saving $6,000 a year, getting your 401k match, do you think you'll ever be richer than Bezos right now? Do you know of anybody who's been saving for 40 years in their 401ks, which now we're just about there. Most 401k plans came about 1984, 1985 is when they started coming on the scenes. We're getting close to 40 years. Shouldn't we be hearing people being trillionaires by now, at least, if not quadrillionaires, apparently? No, of course not. That's not happening, guys. You do not get 100% rate of return on your money. Now, you do double your money, but it's doubled only over the 4 years. So let me show you. So let's put this back to the 7%, because we're going back to Earth now. That's that 100% return, bogus. Don't even believe it. But here's what is true. So let's just say that you get that match. Now, 6,000 plus 6,000 is 12,000. So all we do is we just add 12,000. What happens here? That 1.28 million now becomes 2.56 million, exactly double. Now, what's the real rate of return on that? Because if you're talking about a compounded return, what's the real return on your $6,000 to get 2.563 million, right? So let's put that 6,000 back in. Now I'm going to shorten it for you because I already know the answer to this. So I'm going to put in 9.534%. And what do we get? 2.563 million. Here's the thing, that 100% match over 40 years only gave you an extra 2.5%. Now, 9.5% is nothing to sneeze about, right? It's nothing that bad. But again, if you look at the numbers here, 2.5 million, right? After inflation, I did a 4% inflation adjustment. I think 4% is pretty conservative. Again, I like to play devil's advocate against my own points, right? That's only about $500,000. You live on just 3% of that money. 2% is even worse. But if you try to go as high as 3%, which is pushing it, if you're going to live a long time, $500,000 at 3% means you're now living about $16,000 a year. Congratulations. Yay. You put away 6,000. They gave you 6,000. You're living on 16,000 a year after inflation, before tax, right? So that's that. Now, here's what many of you are doing. Many of you are saying, well, I'm max contributing right here. I'm max funding this policy or this 401k. This is like with this couple, they were both max funding their policies. Sorry. They are max funding their insurance policies now after they saw this. But they were max funding their 401ks. That's 19,500 currently. Now, let's just presume that, again, you get that 6% match. I know a lot of you will only get like up to 3, from 6 and above. But I want to play devil's advocate against this point. And let's just say in this example, we're going to have you putting away 26,000 a year total, right? So they're adding 6,500. So you're making a little over 100,000 a year. I'm just making this even number here. So 26,000 a year that's being contributed. Now, I'm going to put this at that 7%, right? Because again, the full money's making that. You're at 5.5 million, right? 5.553 million. And remember that number because, we've got to figure out what 19,500, the money you're contributing would make to get to that point. What's that extra return? So if I change now to 19,500, I need to get to that 5.553 million. Now, remember, you're not getting a full 100% match, are you? Because they're only matching up to a certain point. The more you max fund, the worse this is. By the way, the more years you're compounding, the worse it is too, because that rule 72, it actually, in this case, works against you because it only doubles, right? The best time to have a 401k and fund it is if you could fund it for a few months or maybe a year and then pull all that money out. Then you would get a pretty good 100% return for that year, right? That would be true. but it's because of that compounding interest, that number decreases over time. So here's the thing. If say you max fund it for the full 40 years, right? From the time you're 25 until you're age 65, which is pretty aggressive for 25-year-olds, but we're going to go with it. Here's the number. 8.065% will still get you 5.553 million. So guys, that match, if you've been max funding, only adds another 1%. That's it. And that's before tax. And again, with after inflation and everything else, we're not looking at very much. We're looking at maybe $35,000 a year before taxes type of lifestyle. Again, nothing impressive, right? Nothing to really get excited about. That's what's different here, guys. Like that match really doesn't do much. In fact, if anything, it might pay some of your taxes, not even all of it. Because remember, if you earn 8% and you get taxed on a quarter of it, you're only netting 6%, right? So if it only adds 1%, you're still paying taxes on that money. You'd be better off in a Roth IRA, which, by the way, they're trying to pass laws right now to then create little restrictions on these Roth IRAs, even to where some people are going to have to cash out the Roth IRAs next year. If this bill passes, they would have to cash it out and pull out 50% of their money, even if they're not 59.5, therefore having a 10% penalty on those gains. So there's all kinds of stuff that can happen. Anytime you put your money in qualified plans where the government is the primary partner, right? They are the partner. Imagine going into business with somebody where they said, hey, we'll be 50-50 partners, but I have controlling interest. I can change the rules on you at any time. I can tell you how much you make, when you can get money out of the company, how much money you can take out, and when you have to pull money out of the company. So even if you didn't need it, I'm still going to make you pull it out. Otherwise, I will penalize you money for this. Would you ever go to a business partnership like that? But guys, every day that you get into a 401k or an IRA or even a Roth IRA, you make that agreement. You make that pact saying, hey, I'm going to turn over my control to you, US government, because I trust you. You've got my best interest at heart. You guys are so benevolent. You're so caring. You want everything best for the people. Oh, but if I actually succeed with these plans, if I actually make a decent amount of money in them, oh my goodness, now I'm considered rich. And now you're going to penalize me for being rich and tax me higher too as a result. Guys, it's ridiculous. In my opinion, it's brainless to not do these kind of plans. It's not a good idea. Now, if you already have them, that's fine. There's options you can do. You can move these into self-directed. If you're currently with an employer and your 401k is locked up, the only thing you can control is right now. What are you going to do about it right now? Are you going to keep contributing to it in hopes that someday it just might work out? When, by the way, the vast majority of Americans that have been saving in these plans still cannot retire, even after 30 plus years of using these plans. If they retire, they're got to do it on kind of a budget, right? Now, if they have Social Security and a pension, great, but pensions are dying away. We already know this. Social Security, I mean, they're talking about in just about 10 years or so, only paying us 70% of the total benefits. So, I mean, even then, there's all these kind of issues that we're coming across. It's your responsibility to take control of your freedom. Do not buy into that myth of the match. The match doesn't do anything. Like I said, adds in another 1 or 2%. Whoop-de-doo. But the market being so lackluster anyways, where you might get 7% and then maybe 8 or 9% over time, that's not a great deal, guys. It's not a great deal at all. The match does nothing. The difference is, however, is that what if you can make at least triple or quadruple the cash flow and income by doing things outside of the 401k plan? And I say at least. That's even short term. Long term with compounding interest, it could be much, much higher than that, where you can speed up your timeline to become financially free. That is the thing that we're teaching. That's what we're talking about here when we talk about all these different alternative options. Sometimes in the real estate arena, it could be in with oil, with metals. It could be with things, even dealing with franchises and businesses. There's so many options outside of this mundane, boring, lackluster, high risk, low returning 401ks and IRAs. Do not buy into that myth of the match. Guys, I hope you're making a wonderful and prosperous week. So we'll see you later.
Visit us online at moneyripples.com for more resources to help you fix money leaks and get your money working harder for you now.